Welcome to Carrier Lumber. This video will guide you through the procedures to follow while you're on our site. Let's begin with a few general rules. All drivers must wear appropriate personal protective equipment anytime they are on the Carrier Lumber site, including hard hats, safety glasses, high visibility vests, and CSA-approved safety footwear. There is no smoking or use of electronic cigarettes, alcohol, or impairing drugs while on site. Passengers that are not drivers in training are required to wait in the parking lot of the scale shack. Trucks with passengers not willing to wait in the parking lot will be turned away. Children 12 years and younger are not permitted on Carrier's site and will be turned away. Children may not wait in the scale shack parking lot. Pets must remain in the cab of the truck at all times. We request your cooperation in helping to be environmentally responsible by avoiding idling if you're parked for long periods of time, unless the temperatures are minus 10 degrees Celsius and colder. The maximum speed limit is 30 kilometers an hour while on site, with a limit of 5 kilometers an hour on the scale. Unsafe conditions, acts, and misconduct of any kind, including verbal or physical, must be reported to a Carrier Lumber supervisor so that corrective action can be undertaken. Please report any unsafe areas or conditions to the log yard supervisor or the weighmaster. There are recording video cameras at several workstations within the yard. Any infractions or incidents involving your truck will likely be reviewed as part of our investigation. Timber marks must be clearly posted on logs or placards before entering the scale. Use caution at all times and follow the safe work procedures closely. Failure to do so will be considered a very serious safety violation and will be dealt with accordingly. When you arrive at Carrier Lumber, your first stop will always be at the truck scales. When entering the scale, alternate between long log and short log trucks on the right side scale. Empty trucks are to go on the left side scale. Do not remove any wrappers prior to entering or while on the scales. Wrappers must only be removed at one of the D-wrap stations or after the load has been secured by Carrier equipment. Park on the scales and enter the scale house. Ensure your load slip is accurate and complete before handing it to the weighmaster. After the weighmaster has entered load information, you'll be provided with a set of ID tags that need to be stapled to your load. Long logs require 2 tags to be stapled to 2 different logs at the front of your load. Cut-to-length trucks will have 3 tags to be attached to the front of each bundle. When leaving the scales, call over the radio off the scales with either cut-to-length or long logs. Plus, state the size and species of your load. If you have a sample load, please state either company or ministry sample load. Long log trucks may or may not be required to go to the banding station before de-wrapping. Follow the Wagner operator's instructions accordingly. Proceed down the log yard entrance road past the cut-to-length de-wrap station to the banding station if you were told to band your load. Center the truck at the banding station approximately 5 feet from the structure, giving enough room for the banderman to work. The banderman will turn on the red light mounted on the de-wrapping station when you're parked in the correct position. Once the truck is in position and the red light is on, you are not to move. Truck drivers must be outside the cab of their trucks while banding is taking place. Banding of the load must be completed before entering the cab of the truck. Good communication with the banderman are important to avoid being struck by a band being thrown over the load. The banderman must be clear and give approval to pull away by turning on the green light mounted on the de-wrapping station, signaling you that it's okay to advance. Once finished at the banding station, proceed forward to the de-wrap station. De-wrapping procedures are very similar for both cut-to-length and long log loads. Under no circumstances are cinches to be loosened or any wrappers removed unless at the de-wrapping station with the load restraining arms down on the load. If the de-wrapping station is unavailable, call the yard crew for assistance. Approach the de-wrap station and pull alongside the curb as close as possible. Always ensure you have positioned your truck far enough ahead of the de-wrapping station so that the first set of arms are on the load and not on the truck. Turn on the hydraulics by pushing the green button. To lower the arms, turn the appropriate switches on the panel. The driver must lower all of the restraining arms to offer maximum protection before removing wrappers. Restraining arms must be in contact with the load unless the load is below the stakes. The restraining arms are to remain in place until all wrappers are removed. Before removing wrappers, look up and around your load. Assess the effectiveness of the log restraint system. If your assessment reveals unsecured logs or you think there are unsecured logs in your load, call a log yard crew over the radio to secure your load instead of using the DWRAP station. Do this before removing wrappers. Undo cinches and pull wrappers back towards the shelter. Always watch the top of the load when removing wrappers. Do not walk outside or behind the DWRAP station. If a wrapper gets stuck on the unsecured side of the load, do not try to retrieve it. Leave the wrapper and call the yard crew for assistance. Do not stand near or under an unsecured load while a wrapper is being retrieved. Once the wraps have been removed, ensure the restraining arms have been returned to the upright position before driving away. Do not use the DWRAP station if your cinches are on the passenger side of the load. Instead, call the yard crew for assistance. If you're unable to use the DWRAPing station for any reason, call the yard crew to restrain the load before cinches are loosened and the wrappers are removed. After leaving the DWRAPing station, inform either the Heidecker operator for cut-to-length loads or the Wagner operator for long log loads that you are DWRAPed and leaving the station. Proceed to be unloaded in the log yard per the instructions of the operator. Stop a minimum of 2 truck lengths behind any truck being unloaded. Never pull up close or park on the blind side of a truck being unloaded. After you park, apply your emergency brake, shut off your engine, and leave the transmission in a position where it cannot move. When unloading a cut-to-length load, please remain in your cab while being unloaded. Once unloaded, proceed back to the scales to complete the delivery process. When unloading long log loads, drivers must stand in a safe position, in front of the truck and in clear view of the Wagner operator. Stay in the safe position until the load is clear and the Wagner has pulled away. Folding down stakes, disconnecting airlines, and/or hanging wrappers will not be tolerated while being unloaded. This work is to be done at the trailer hoist area or in a safe location off-site. Once unloaded, proceed back to the scales to complete the delivery process. Once you are finished at the scales, proceed to the trailer hoist to load your trailer if needed. When approaching the trailer hoist, center the trailer directly under the hoist. Climbing on trucks or trailers is prohibited. A pike pole will be provided to be used to lower stakes. Do not lift loads that exceed the hoist's load rating of 10 tons. In case of emergency, push the red emergency stop button and notify the loader operator or log yard supervisor immediately. Turn on the hoist controller by turning the red emergency stop button to the right. It should pop out. This will give you power to the controller. When raising and lowering the trailer, stand on the work platform outside the hoist bay area. Never stand under or beside a suspended load. When the trailer is suspended, always exit and enter the work platform from the west side, the opening closest to the truck. When lifting the trailer, ensure the reach is centered in the orange reach guide yoke. Should the trailer require positioning, use the pike pole provided. Never use your hands to manipulate the trailer. When finished using the controller for the hoist, the driver must activate the red emergency stop button by pushing it in. This includes if you leave to back up the truck or if you are finished loading your trailer. After the trailer has been loaded and secured, use the pike pole to disconnect the hoist hook. Raise the hook to the height of the orange reach guide yoke. Push the red emergency stop button on the hoist controller to deactivate it, and return the controller to its position on the beam. Once your trailer is loaded, return to your cab and proceed slowly out of the Carrier Lumber site. Thank you for watching and helping us make our site safer for everyone.